GM. Today we have Brenden Mulligan from the Premint team. We're going to be talking about Premint and how it's the NFT access list tool that should be on your radar. So this should be a fun one. See you guys soon. Brenden, welcome to the stream. So today we're going to be talking about Premint. If people don't know what Premint is, it's basically a way to connect creators to the collectors in a more secure way, is how I've been describing it to people. Basically, you can go on there, sign up for the lists to be potentially selected in a raffle for the pre-sale, or if you want to do giveaways. So Brenden, tell us a little about the inspiration behind Premint.
Well, Premint came about last year. The first concept for it came about last year when there was basically every drop, especially art blocks drops were botted and gas wars. So I started seeing a trend of creators who started to use Google Forms or other means to pre-register wallets to get access to the mint. And that's where Premint came out of. It was just watching the behavior of creators in the market and seeing them using what I thought was a pretty substandard approach to solve a real problem. What substandard approach was go to my Google form, enter your wallet address, type in your Twitter name. There was no verification that you actually had that wallet address or that you were actually that Twitter user. And so so that's where it came from. It was just build a much simpler version of that. And so the original Premint was connect your wallet, connect your Twitter, connect your Discord, hit register. That was it. Since then, it's become a very much more complex platform. And so people are using it where when you're not just connecting your Discord, but you're connecting your Discord because you're proving that you have a role in a server, or you're proving that you joined a server before a certain date, or you're proving that you are following someone on Twitter, or you have a certain amount of ETH in your wallet. There's all these different sort of requirements, eligibility requirements that the creators can set up. And then at the end of it, they can say, all right, we've got a 10,000 NFT supply, but they might get 40,000 entries. We're building tools to debot to make sure that you can look through all the people who registered and try to remove the ones that are bots or multiple registrations. And then at the end, they can run a raffle that picks 10,000 of those 30,000 winners or 40,000 winners. And then they can say, all right, well, we got 10,000 who won. We have 5,000 on the wait list, and then we have the rest that didn't win. And so then when they set up their mints, they can say, all right, so what we did for our token for the first 3 hours, the winners get a chance to mint. Generally, because there's 10,000 tokens and 10,000 winners, you don't have a gas war. People come in, they know they have 3 hours to mint. They're guaranteed a spot. Then you have the wait list. So it's not everyone in the world. It's only people on your very specific list can come in and mint. And then maybe it's a little gas war depending on how many tokens are left. And then if you don't sell out in your wait list, you open it up to the public. And so that's typically the flow for people, is they use Premint to start generating those lists and then deliver them into the contract or the minting flow.
Yeah, and one thing I like about the setup, at least the current setup of the website itself, is you can go on there, you can see all of the socials for the project, you can see the date of the when you need to sign up by, the date of the mint, the price of the mint, all the info's right there too, and it just puts everything in one nice spot for the user.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask a little about the debotting part of it, because obviously in the past we've seen these projects that get heavily botted. I think one of them that was widely known was the Sevens, I believe it was called, where there was 1,000, someone minted 1,000 of them. They ran that script. And so when it comes to the debotting, how do you guys go about deciding or being able to figure out what is considered a bot that's submitting a lot of these entries versus a real person?
Yeah, we try to, in general, be neutral when it comes to the decision making. And so I don't want Premint to ever come out and say, in order to sign up on a list, you have to connect your Twitter account. It's all up to the creator to set up what the eligibility to get on the list is. And at the same time, it'll be up to the creator to decide what a bot is and what a bot isn't. So we can give them signals that they can use just to make it easier for them to clean it out. So as an example, We track all IP addresses that when people sign up, we don't save their actual IP. We take a cryptographic hash of the IP and save that with the entry. But the same IPs will have the same hashes. So there's no way to get the IPs from the hashes, but you'll know like, oh, did 400 entries come from the same IP address? And so on the creator side, we can say, do you want to remove entries that came from an IP address used more than X amount of times? So that's one thing we can do. Now, like, it's up to the creator to decide what the right answer there is, right? I think it's just my personal opinion, like you can't say if it was used more than once because you might have roommates, you might have a college dorm or something like that. If you say used more than 5 times, like, I don't know, it's up to them if that's fair. We've seen some IPs used like 400, 500 times within a few minutes of each other, right? So that's clearly someone who's doing it. Now, bots clearly know how to use VPNs and get around IP address, reusing IP addresses. So it's just more about giving them signals they can make decisions. We can say, all right, this is how many Twitter followers this person had when they signed up. And so maybe someone says, all right, well, if they have 0 followers, I don't want to put them on my list. Or they signed up the same day that they joined your list, which could mean that someone's creating a bunch of accounts just to get on the list. Or, you required them to have 1 ETH in their wallet when they signed up, but since then they have sent that to other wallets. And so they no longer have the 1 ETH. So again, it's like, we're actually working on this stuff this week. The hope is a page where the creator can go in and kind of set what they think is fair. And so that's kind of some of the things that we're doing.
Well, yeah, and that was a big one with Moonbirds, I know, where people were just sending 2.5 ETH to all these different wallets. One thing that with Premint, obviously, since the Access Pass itself is an NFT, people can go in and buy 10 of them or however many. If someone has multiple, is there any benefit to that besides the idea of, say, flipping it for more? Do you expect to add more benefits down the road?
Yeah, hopefully not too long from here. There's a couple vectors that people feel like are a little unfair, and the people who have made a bigger investment into the community, whatever community that is, wish that they got a bigger sort of reward for doing that when it comes to premint. And so the 2 examples I'll give are, a premint list can do collabs. So when we did our pass, we did a collab with the Proof Collective, we did a collab with Cryptodes, we did all these collabs. So you had the premint list, and then you had these collab sub lists. And so if someone, and right now, no matter how, like whoever, you can only sign up through one angle, right? If you have a proof token and a cryptode, you can only sign up through one of those 2 collabs. Now, most people are like, well, that's not really fair. I have both. I should be able to at least sign up through each collab and get double chances of winning. So that's coming. And then the layer on top of that is, well, I own 6 cryptodes. So shouldn't I get 6 tickets where someone else, or 6 chances to win, where someone else who owns only 1 toad gets 1 chance to win? I actually don't think that that's a policy that I will enforce as a platform, but I think it's fair to give the creators the opportunity to turn that on and off. And so, those are 2 things that in the very near term, within like weeks, not months, we want to turn on. And so in that case, if you own multiple creator or collector passes, premint collector passes, you, like any other any other token holder for any other token, you'll get more chances to win than if you only own 1. But that's not like a benefit to collector pass holders. That's just how the platform will start working. Yeah. The reason that it's taken a little longer to release this is because, you talk about Moonbirds, people were selling Ethereum, the ETH around to different wallets. Like, this happens with tokens too, right? You're supposed to own a doodle, you register with your doodle, you send the doodle to wallet number 2, you register again. We're tracking that, and there's going to be a part of the cleaning process where only the most recent token use will be considered valid. So, so we're doing a lot of like token related stuff at the same time, and so that's why it's just taking a little longer.
Yeah, and I think the side of the creators is a little less known than the collectors. I think just because Premint is sort of the face of the actual raffle system, is people think that if it's set up one way, it was decided by Premint. But how much is in sort of the creator's hands as far as the actual setup of one of these giveaways?
Everything, every setting is set by the creators. So the eligibility requirements, if they want to, like, they can say, I have 10,000 tokens and I don't want more than 10,000 people signing up. That's going to be, I only want 10,000, or they can have more and they can run a raffle. The raffle itself is just a random, a random number generator and random picker. But besides that, and a lot of creators creators can export the list and run their own raffle if they don't want to use premints, and then re-import the winners into premint. So, again, it's a platform that's supposed to be used by the creators how they want to use it. It's not supposed to be prescriptive on what they have to do. It's sort of our job to make sure that their people aren't using it to scam people. And then also, like, some creators, just because in the past there hasn't been a collector side, creators are like, cool, I'm going to export my list, run my own raffle, and post the winners into my Discord. And then those winners don't get back into premint, and all the people who are coming to premint to see if they won or not don't get to see that. So we've been building tools to help get winners back into it if that's what the creators try to do. So anyway, bunch of stuff. So
yeah. One question I had on, before we get over back to the collector side, one more on the creators was, how can a creator get started? Is there potentially like a long list, a wait list to get on? Do they just DM the premint account? Like, how could a creator get connected with premint?
It's easier than that. It's a totally self-serve platform. So you go on, you hit get started. It asks you what's your project's name, and you just go from there. You can set it up, and you can play with every feature. You can do everything you want. You can add team members to your project, and you and the team members can test it, try to sign up, run it through everything you want. The minute you want to actually turn it on for the rest of the community, there's a creator pass NFT that you can go buy, and that will unlock all the premium features for the platform. And that's like, instead of just charging for the software, we were like, oh, we'll give an NFT, but the NFTs are not built to be resold. And so it's more of a receipt, but we're going to be doing things for creator pass holders at some point. So we've done it before. We gave a lot of the creator pass holders a free collector pass when we released that. And so, but yeah, so it's totally self-serve, set it up for free. And then if you want to use it, you just buy the creator pass and you're on your way.
Okay. Yeah, and then the only difference there is between that and the exclusives, right? So how could someone get within the exclusive? Is that more so, the way I think of it is, it's kind of like Art Blocks Curated versus Art Blocks Factory. Could you explain what the exclusives are?
Yeah, so we haven't really talked about it, but we have so we have creators that come in and create the lists. We also have a collector pass, which is a 10,000 NFT supply community that gets access to additional features of the software by holding a collector pass. And that minted the creator pass. There's an unlimited supply, and we mint as many as people want to use, because it's really just paying for software. On the collector side, there is a 10,000 max supply that sold out in April. And so that's available on secondary, but that is a community that gets access to like a set of collector focused features. In that focused features, though, what Lou's referring to with exclusives is, there's a section in the collector dashboard that is essentially, here are access list spots that people are offering you, collector pass holders. So up until about last week, we had this area called exclusives. We have a collab council that goes out and finds projects. I'm not even on the collab council. And they go and they find interesting projects and add them into there. And they get list spots for the community and all that stuff. That said, last week we made a huge change to that. And so now anyone with the creator pass can offer a collab to the collector pass communities, to the community. We do a very brief overview to make sure it's not a scam. But once we check that, pretty much, we let through like 99.9%, and then you show up. So now, instead of an exclusives area of the dashboard, there's a collab section of the collector dashboard, and they go in, and at the top it's the collab council picks, which are the old exclusives, and that's usually between like 1 and 10 projects a week. But the collab side is 10 or 15 new projects a day. We all know, like, the NFT world is full of projects. A lot of them maybe are not great investments, but are cool projects. And so we just put anything that the creator side is doing in that area. And so it's not curated. We check it for scams and stuff, but it's not curated at all. So with a creator pass, you basically can expose your project to the community.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that was a newer version of that. But when you're starting to build now, as far as just the next steps within the platform, like what's the most exciting feature that's on the roadmap or in current talks that you have coming?
I still have a roadmap to deliver that was promised to the collectors when they minted. And so the stuff that's on the list for that's coming up is we have there's a lot of stuff we've released that wasn't on that list. Like the whole collapse section was not part of the roadmap. That's kind of come up since then. But there is like the concept of the explore or browsing section, which is going to show you all the lists on the platform. So that's coming. I'm excited to roll that out. That's going to be it's going to be really interesting to see what people think, because these lists are already getting, people are scraping premint. They're scraping Twitter for premint links. They're a lot of alpha discords. There's like a premint channel where they're just posting every list. So this isn't necessarily going to be new information, but I think we can do some cool stuff with browsing for the collectors, where they can kind of filter the list by different things and kind of try to identify opportunities and interesting stuff. It's like so that I think will be fun. There's a eligibility dashboard is what we've been calling it, but probably will end up not necessarily being like a dashboard, but another view of projects that you have qualifications to get into. So, we know that someone's offering Bored Ape collectors spots on their list. Well, we can show you a dashboard that's like, hey, you own an MFer, a Bored Ape, and a Doodle. The people who own Doodles get access to all this stuff. The people who own MFers get access to all this stuff, right? And it'll just show it all. And again, people will have to do their own research and figure out if these projects are worth doing, but at least we can surface them opportunities that they might have been missing. So,
yeah, and the other thing that I've seen you guys started doing is the discounts. And so is that something from a creator pass as well? Like they could connect and be able to set up a discount?
No, the discounts are at this point 100%. Actually, right now it's 100% my relationships and me talking to people about getting opportunities, giving opportunities to collectors. So, yeah, there's a tab within the collector dashboard called discounts or benefits, and it, if, for example, it's like this is a quality over quantity thing at this point. For me, there's certainly ways that we could go and get hundreds of discounts for these collectors, but on random stuff like free hotel night or so we could go down that road. There's been a few like companies that have focused around like benefits and stuff before. That's not really what the goal of the creator pass has ever been, or I want it to be. But there's something we do like to do things for the collectors that is helpful. And I think that so we have right now, we have money off of Coin Tracker to help you file your taxes. We're giving all collectors a free ledger. We're giving all collectors have like between 40 and 50% off, like 5 different or maybe 4 different analytics platforms to like make. So like we're doing that stuff. That is considered a bonus and something fun for collectors, but it's not supposed to be the core.
Yeah, and I know. I ordered my ledger. That the time frame for that already ended, right? As far as when to order it by. So I'm excited for the ledger because I mean I have one. I plan on either having the second one as sort of like a backup, or I might give it away to someone else who I know who doesn't already have one, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a pretty cool feature because it's, as I mentioned earlier, like I feel like this platform is a safe and secure way to connect. And it just makes so much sense to connect with Ledger as just a brand in general. So tell us a little about that, because that was probably I think that was your first like big announcement, I guess, in a way, of a way for holders outside of the platform, like ways that you could get something more from the pass itself. So how did you decide on Ledger, and tell us a little about that? Because the cool part about it is they're actually imprinted with the word premint on them as well. So that's why I personally am like, well, I kind of want to keep it. I don't necessarily want to give it away because it has that on it specifically.
Yeah, so I started talking, it was prior to the Collector Pass mint, I started talking to the Ledger team about this. And the Collector Pass minted at 0.25 ETH, which I think at the time was $600 or $700, something like that. At least when I was planning it, I think that was the USD equivalent. And I was thinking like, oh, this would be kind of a cool thing because a ledger, is about $80 for these new ledgers. And so I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to get this pass and then immediately get like 10% of the value handed to you for free. And so that's where sort of the conversation started. The premint floor, I don't really pay attention to it, but it bounces all around. And I think at this point, at the point where we announced the ledger, it was one of these, like, the cost of the ledger itself to the collector was so minuscule, no one was going to buy and sell a pass to get a ledger because the passes were thousands of dollars and you could just go spend $80 on a ledger. It'd be way easier. So, which was actually really nice for me because I thought that would be also nice, as if it was like, no, we're doing this just because, right? But what I'm hoping with the collector pass holders is that we're making people better collectors. And we're making them giving them information, access to information through our partnerships and our discounts and all that, and through some premium stuff that makes them better collectors. We're giving them, we're letting them know about what access lists exist, maybe that they would have missed because they're not on Discord all day. So when I think about the things that we want to help people with, it's like security. We rolled out a multi-wallet feature recently where you can connect your Ledger or whatever your hardware wallet is, as well as your minting wallet to premint. And so when you're signing up on these lists, even if you have to prove that you own a Bored Ape, we've connected your Ledger and you can say, you can look at that wallet for my ape, but I'm not going to mint with that wallet. I'm going to mint with my MetaMask wallet. And so security is at the top of mind. We've done a lot of security stuff. And so with that, it's like, we want to make sure that they have a hardware wallet. That feature doesn't really work at all if they don't have a hardware wallet. So to me, that was a pretty easy one. My honest prediction is that every community does this because Ledger needs to make it easier for me to be able to say, go to ledger.com and order one if you have a collector pass. They don't have the capability to do that right now. So we had to set up our own system to take the orders. But as soon as Ledger sets that up, I can't imagine any community with a token that is worth, a little bit of money not to do this because it's an amazing benefit. And so, I'm not saying that because we did the benefit. People should
promote that.
Yeah. Ledger will sell millions of these devices through these partnerships, in my opinion, if they make it easier. And I think it's a no-brainer for most communities that can look at the royalties and say, okay, well, I'm making enough on a weekly basis to be able to cover the costs of this, and it's good for the community. So anyway, I'm a big fan of, I know that there's other hardware wallets that are also excellent. I just happen to always have a Ledger. And I know some people on the team that I've known their sort of chief experience officer for a decade. So that's why I chose Ledger as opposed to Trezor or some of these other wallets. But I think making sure your community has a safe place to put the NFTs is, especially for communities that have expensive NFTs, like Premint Pass. I don't know what the floor is right now, but if it's over $1,000, to me, that's something you should be careful about, right? So I want to make sure that people can be careful.
Yeah, that's like the big thing just in general with NFTs is just having a ledger, having that hardware wallet in general is just something that a lot of people don't have, maybe don't even know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, this is one way that someone can get onboarded to learn what Ledger is as well. I've seen, I know the Penelope's Country Club was another community that was doing this where you could burn some of the airdrops that they got in order to get a Ledger. And whenever projects do it, I definitely back it, the idea of it, because I think everyone should have a Ledger if they're doing crypto in any way, whether it's you have a couple $100 in Bitcoin up to you have millions of dollars worth of NFTs. I just think the idea of it helps a lot. I mean, we see that pretty much every day that there's people on Twitter posting about they lost XYZ from some phishing attack. So I I believe you had mentioned at one point that there's never going to be a Discord. Is there a way right now? Is it just follow on Twitter and be connected that way? Do you plan potentially to have on the website any sort of like chat feature?
Probably not. I think that we thought about this very early. There's a lot of communities, people who are like, I'm going to sell an alpha pass. And what do you get for the alpha pass? You get access to my alpha Discord, and we say important things in there, right? And like, I don't doubt that there are communities that you can join that have really amazing Discords, but like, I'm in a lot of Discords, like a lot of Discords. And some of them are just like communities where I own an NFT, and that's the best information I get potentially, right? So like, but I'm a big fan of like what is the unique value that I can offer to the world with this product, and I feel like another Discord was not where I wanted to focus. Certainly, it could be done, right? You get some moderators. I just don't know why it would be better than other places, right? And so I think there's a strong argument where it could be better because we could tie in like notifications into it, where it's like, oh, you're in our Discord. If you win a raffle, we'll ping you. And there's like probably stuff like that we could do. But I think, well, there's going to be some collectors that don't want to be on Discord. Therefore, we'll have to build the notifications outside of Discord anyway. So I don't know. For me, it feels more like a headache to deal with than it's worth, because I think that people can get all the information they need on other Discords. When things happened the other day, like the Me6 hack, where a bunch of these like high profile Discords were hacked, and like those are the moments where I'm just like, I think it's really actually, I mean, people, it seems easy because you just launch a Discord and you set some rules and you get some mods and you build some channels and the community can do their thing. But like, I actually think it's a lot of work. And so I try to really focus my time and energy on things that I think are going to be different. And I think that the Discord isn't, but it's an experiment. I've been tweeting through my account and through the Premint account since launch, and it seems like that's going really well. I love that, like, not only can the community members interact with each other through tweet threads and stuff, but also non-Premint collector pass holders can see the community interacting and kind of choose whether or not they want to be a part of it. It's working. I'm selfish, but I think it's working very well for me as the way that we communicate information. And then we're also going to lean a little on the Web 2 side on email. And so there'll be like a collector newsletter that goes out every week. We're just starting to send more notifications on if you've won or lost things. We have an iCal feed where it has a lot of information. So I just feel like we're going to cover a lot of ground with other ways.
Yeah, a couple of features that I do love that you guys have is the integration, the calendar integration, where once you start signing up, you can have like, I sign up for, dozens of things a week probably, and I need a calendar to be able to figure out when things are happening. So like, I love that feature. And then just in general, the idea of not having a Discord, like you mentioned, so many of these Discords get hacked every day, and you need someone always 24/7 with eyes on it and protecting it in that sense. And it can take away from that sort of building aspect to it. One question I wanted to ask about is building through this sort of market where a lot of these projects keep pushing off their mint dates. It's not the best market to drop, so people win the spot on there, but then it gets moved or it's not a great mint. So how are you guys building through this sort of phase? Because I think people on Twitter every day are talking about how this is a great time to be building. So how is Premint building during this current market?
We're just building. It's funny, like I haven't thought too much about how it's going to be any different. I think that we're solving a problem. The risk to Premint and any startup, but specifically for Premint, is that that the problem that we're solving is no longer a problem because of a market change. So originally we were solving a gas war problem. I don't think that's the only problem that we're solving right now. But if no one wants to mint anything, you don't really need to pre-register people. So if that's the only thing that we're doing, the only problem we're solving, then we kind of like, we can keep building, but no one's going to be using it for a while. It kind of sucks to keep building. But we don't really solve that problem only anymore. We're solving, like, people are using Premint as a marketing tool of like, oh, I'm going to do a mint. I want to find people, and this is a way I'll do like pre-marketing. And so, I think that we're good in the sense of like, I'm not too worried about a market downturn like ruining the business. It could slow down a lot of aspects of the business, but I'm not particularly worried about it like being like, oh, this is no longer needed anymore. So, I think that, like, if you're wanting to buy the Premint collector pass, or sorry, the creator pass, which is again that pass that there's an unlimited supply of. It's basically upgrading the software. It's about a third the price today as it was 2 weeks ago. So like, that's a weird thing as a software business to be like, imagine like Figma or Adobe Photoshop being like, oh, well, because the stock market's down, you can buy Photoshop for a third less. Like, it's a significant change to revenue, but when it goes up, it stays the same. It stays the same amount of ETH also. So it's like, we just kind of roll with it. I think that people in this market, it will shake a lot of people out because I think one thing about Web3, and I talk about this on a lot of the podcasts that I'm on, is there's a lot of people who are building, and I'm encouraging building in any way possible. Spent years building little projects that never went anywhere just because they were interesting. I think there's a lot of people who in our space right now who are building like interesting solutions to not real problems because the technology is new and it's so fun to play with. And so I think that is great. I think a lot of those have gotten like heavily venture funded, and that's where we'll start seeing issues if we have a really big downturn where it's like maybe some of the VCs these people have like kind of created like an interesting solution. They got heavily funded. They built a huge team. They have a huge burn rate. If the potential customers disappear, especially if they weren't really there in the first place, and then these companies need more money, the VCs might say, well, we can't give you more money because you don't have any customers and the market's, and then those companies start having to rethink about what they're building and how they're building. We've been lucky enough to sort of bootstrap this and then, use the revenue from the company to keep working on it. So I don't foresee that being a problem, right? Like, I think that I feel pretty good about it. I think in these like little bit less frothy markets, assuming we go into like a little bit of a bear market for a while, like, you stay lean, you focus like diligently on a specific customer problem that you're solving, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's something that we've been working on at Lucky Trader as well, and like similar to Premint, aggregating information for the users that don't have 8 hours a day to go through Discord servers and try to find and grind these different allow lists that are out there potentially for you. I'm in a couple Discords where you could basically you get tagged based on what your holding is. So it's like, oh, hey, if you have a doodle, like there's this Premint list that popped up. And I think it's still very useful, at least in a market like this, because once it starts moving up, Premint is just at a much higher advantage to allow people to get back into NFTs if they were just sitting on the sidelines, holding money elsewhere or waiting to figure out just macro real world problems before getting back into NFTs. What sort of challenges have you had with connecting the collectors to the creators? Have most of the challenges been worked out since maybe it was from the beginning?
I don't think we've had any challenges necessarily with the connecting. I think the challenge in general is you think about the exclusive section. All right. So the old exclusive section, which we talk about being like spots offered to the collectors, usually we had 1 to 10 exclusives a week. A lot of the collectors would say, hey, and these spots, because the projects are super, super big, these spots, maybe we'd get 50 spots on this really hot project, and we have 10,000 members. And so 50 spots for 10,000 members isn't a lot. And like, when you give these spots to, when 50 spots are given to like the cryptos community or one of these other communities that are more art based, like, yeah, they have hundreds of people that sign up, but for Premint, we have thousands of people that sign up to get these spots. So the feedback I got was from the collectors was like, well, we want more spots on more great projects. Okay. I think what people don't realize is, and no offense to the community at large, is there are not that many great projects. And I think most people's concept of a great project is it's going to mint out and the floor is going to be 2 or 3x what the mint price was within a day, right? And that does happen, sometimes much higher than that. But there aren't that many of those projects. There are hundreds of projects launching a week, but there's only a few that do really, really well. So I think the disconnect, and it's always things that we're trying to figure out is, well, members want more spots, which top projects aren't going to give them. You know, top projects are trying to give spots to like a large amount of communities, or they know they're going to sell out anyway. So like Moonbirds didn't give us any spots because like, we're going to sell out. We don't want to get into the collab thing. Yeah. So more spots on more projects. Well, there aren't more projects that are really popular, right? Maybe we miss a couple, but like sometimes we turn down a project because they only want to give us like 10 spots. And because we don't want 99.9% of the people who sign up for them to be disappointed.
Right.
So anyway, that's been the balance. It's been really hard for me at this point. And the goal of the creator pass or the collector pass was not spots on lists that we go hustle for you. That's really, it's there's so much other value that we can bring that isn't just we'll get you spots on lists. Mm-hmm. I think the leverage is we can help you figure out what spots on lists you have with all your NFTs is going to be way more valuable than like us getting 10 more spots. Anyway, but that's been a battle for us. And so we released the collab section that has all of them. And then everyone's like, cool, there's more projects, but are these going to mint out? You need to basically guarantee me that I'll make money. And it's just like, that is the disconnect. And some of it is like a lot of new traders who are coming in later and been like, well, I want to spend 0.08 ETH and I want to get 3 ETH in 10 days. Like, where is that? That's why I bought this pass. And it's like, well, you shouldn't have bought the pass for that. That's, you know, this isn't investment advice. You need to be doing your own research. And there just fundamentally are not 10 projects a week that are going to be like, go crazy. So anyway, that's been like the when you say like problems between creators and collectors, like that's been the big thing. Also, creators are now coming on being like, cool, I want to give 1,000 spots to the collector community. And in their mind, they're like, that means I'm going to sell 1,000. So I'll give 5,000 spots. I'm going to sell. And a lot of the collectors see the project, maybe sign up for it, but then don't end up minting it because they do the research and they don't want to mint it. So it's setting the expectation on both sides that has been the biggest challenge. But I think that that's not unexpected, and it'll be continued to be a challenge. So,
yeah, and I think one thing that is a huge positive in this project is the percent count of holders to the passes. We have a joke in our Discord that it's if you have one pass, you basically have 0 because you're never going to sell it because you want to use it. And I think it shows a real utility for this NFT where a lot of those projects that you're signing up for don't have much. Mm-hmm. So one question I had was, do you envision or are you planning, this is say the Genesis NFT down the road once there's more demand and potentially a more sort of bear or bull market comes back, do you envision more passes to come out, potentially a secondary layer of a pass or anything like that?
So the premint pass originally was an annual pass that expired at the end of every year. And if you held the pass, you were guaranteed access. If you wanted to buy the next year's pass, you were guaranteed to get it at the mint price, right? So the initial pass was going to be 2022. And then around December, we would start selling the 2023 pass. If you held a 2022 pass, you could buy it, but you didn't have to. And at the end of the 2022, that pass, the benefits of the pass went away. The morning after we had signed up and we pretty much were guaranteed to sell out, we announced that the 2022 pass was actually going to be the founder's pass and would be going for 2 years. So the current pass at the end of 2023, we have said that the benefits are not guaranteed past the end of 2023. And when we release the 2024 pass, you will be guaranteed a spot to mint it. That said, we wanted to make sure that we set the expectation that this wasn't like a forever pass and that we would be doing another set. There's tons of ways that we could approach doing another pass. And there's tons of ways that we could approach rewarding the early pass holders for this one. And so because someone was asking me this a couple weeks ago, they were like grilling me on what the plan is. And I was like, that's like 19 months away from now, right? And this is one of the reasons that we extended it for that extra year is because I didn't want, right now, I'd kind of have to be thinking about what happens in December. We don't need to make any decisions for a while. And so yeah, I think that like, as the space grows, I've been getting feedback on both sides. Like one side of saying like I should have kept the pass supply lower, right? Because it's hard for 10,000 people to be competing with these list spots. So therefore I should have only sold 1,000 of these and then they'd have a better shot. But again, the goal of this pass is not to get spots on exclusive, collector pass lists. It's to access software. And so that other side is I'm getting a lot of crap from people who say, there's been 1.25 million wallets that have signed up for premint right now. And they're like, you have 1.25 million users. I know that people have multiple wallets and there's a lot of bots in there, but let's just say like 20% of those, right? You have 250,000 users. You only are giving access to like the good tools to 10,000 of them. That sounds really unfair. There should be more access. And so I'm getting pulled in both directions. I think there's ways to do it. I think people will be happy with what we end up doing.
Yeah, I think that's an important factor as well, because there's plenty you can do without a pass on the site. There's a lot of the premint collabs that I've seen. People are able to sign up without it. So just being able to have a pass, I've seen additional ones that the people weren't able to who had the pass. So it's really having to balance the people that have paid more in order to have that added benefit to it as well. So is there anything we haven't covered yet that you find very valuable to a user that maybe we haven't already talked about yet?
I think what people are going to see, most of the people who track the project will just see like our relentless pursuit of shipping new software features and giving new benefits to the holders. That's really the heart of this project. It's very different than like an alpha project or an alpha group where you buy the pass, you're in a Discord, and you get different opportunities through that. Like we're leaning on the software side more than so like in like a tech org, you might call like there's the product group, which is shipping features and hitting a roadmap around like functionality that users are going to get to use. And then there's a program group, which is more like sort of like new projects and stuff that isn't necessarily tied to the software. So Ledger, like the discount side would be like a program where it's like, cool, we're going to give discounts. Now someone needs to go figure out what the discounts are. There's not a lot of product work needs to be done there. You just need to go like figure out what that program looks like. And collabs, to be honest, is more of a program. I think I've been trying to pitch this and envision this as a product company and a product like pass where you're going to we're going to turn on things like an iCal feed where now you get to see all of your mints on your phone in your calendar, right? That is where I think people who get excited about that stuff, I think will be excited about being a part of the community, because we've got a bunch of stuff we want to ship. We're shipping stuff all the time. And I think there's other kinds of passes that it's like, I think Moonbirds actually was a good example of this for the Proof Collective. Like the Proof Collective isn't a software company. It's you're joining a group, and that group is going to be building, they're going to be building some products, but what they're really doing is building a bunch of programs. And Moonbirds is one of those programs where it's like, cool, it's a product, but it's an NFT, it's in the PFP, you need to be part of a community. There's a lot of benefits for holding it. It's not like getting you access to some, collector dashboard, at least at this point. So both of them are awesome, but what I'm trying to do is the software side, where it's like we have a lot of software left to build, and hopefully it'll be very beneficial to be able to access it. So
yeah. And then we have a question in the chat from John here. He's saying he's asking about your favorite wall art behind you. If you're just listening to audio, there's a bunch of NFT art behind Brenden. So which of those is your favorite?
Oh, I don't know. There's so much cool stuff. I have a hard time everything up here has a different sort of meaning to me as far as like when I started collecting, when I was able to get it, where I was in my collecting career. Most of these artists I have some sort of a relationship to. And so I think that, I don't think it would be fair to pick one, but I think that like the squiggle is always like, it's such like an iconic like, and that actually came because I worked with Artblocks and helped them release some of their podcasts. And so that was a gift from them. And it was just cool because I actually sort of missed the boat on minting a lot of the early Artblock stuff. So I didn't have a squiggle, and they were kind enough to give me one after helping them a ton with their podcast.
Yeah, I've heard Snowfur does that a lot, where because they still have, I don't know, 400 or something that haven't been minted. So he's been doing a lot of them as giveaways, where I was watching one of his streams one night, and he minted one live and then gave it away. There were like 20 people watching. I was like, that's probably the closest chance I had at 1 in 20 chance of getting one.
Yeah.
We have another question here from Puck Drop. He's saying, will Premint offer internal rankings or suggestions in the newsletter or otherwise to help filter to expected high quality projects? I think I know what your answer will be to this, but do you have one?
So you think about the data that we have data on how many people are signing up for these lists. That's the biggest piece of data that we have to be able to and how many people are going to the landing pages and reading about them and all that stuff. We're also going to try to pull in social signals of how big their Twitter following is, or Discord, and some of that stuff. And so I think that my hope is that we can, using that data that is not subjective, we can, right now, if you're on the collabs page in the Collector Pass, we have a leaderboard, the top projects over the past day and everything. And that's based on the interest of that project, which is sort of a blended version of some of those signals that I'm talking about. So I think we can do that, right? We can show based on this other data. The words higher quality projects, in my opinion, is just it's bullshit, because no one knows what they are, right? Is a higher quality project gorgeous, pixel perfect art, or is it a colors in a squiggly line, or is it pixelated owls? You don't know what's going to work. It really comes down to the team. There's so many factors that go into a project doing really well. Yeah. I don't plan to be the person that tells you what's going to do really well. First of all, because it would be wildly illegal for us to start giving financial advice on what projects are going to do well. But people say, look, well, you can get a good sense based on the team. I know plenty of top tier teams that are great Web 2 teams that suck at Web 3. And so if you were well, they've done things in the past that have been successful, it didn't translate. We've all seen all these celebrity NFTs that come out, and they're like, oh, this celebrity with millions and millions of Twitter followers is going to. Shaq did this. Shaq, no offense, Shaq, but he launched an NFT through Premint. He has 8 million Twitter followers. He tweeted the link to the Premint list. It did really well. A bunch of people signed up. The floor never is above the mint price. Now that project, and because no one's maintaining that project. So anyway, my sort of approach to the whole thing is, I think there's some signals that we can give you about how well the pre-mint sort of data is showing, but that doesn't always translate to high quality projects. And everyone knows that you can inflate your Twitter numbers through many different means. And I'm not going to go look at all your Twitter followers and know if you bought a bunch of them. That's sort of the way that we approach it, is I think we can help a little bit, but anyone looking for a magic ball that's I'm going to buy the Premint pass and suddenly every project I mint is going to moon, is they're not educated in the Web3 space at this point, because it's just an impossible thing.
Yeah. Do you guys have plans to sort of branch out into Solana projects? We're not there yet?
We just launched our first Solana Premint exclusive a couple weeks ago. I believe it was an exclusive list. And essentially it was I don't even know how they did it. It was you registered with your Ethereum wallet, and then I think you had to join their Discord and give them your Solana address or something like that. So, I have yet to see a great example, and anyone can feel free to shoot me a DM or tweet at me at Mulligan. That, for example, I haven't seen a great project that is multi-chain yet. Even OpenSea that just added Solana support, I think it's a little clunky because you have 2 wallets and 2 identities, and so. I certainly think that Premint should be multi-chain, and you should be able to launch a Solana project or a Tezos project, and you should have all the same features. So absolutely, I kind of want to get the base functionality of the platform finished and before expanding into different chains. So people are hacking it right now. I know a bunch of people who moved from Tezos to Ethereum, and they wanted to give their Tezos holders access to the list. So what they did was they gated it by a Discord role that you had to use, I think, Vulkan to get. And so kind of check most of the boxes for that. If you're a Solana, if you want to collect, we have a custom field that you can add to any list. So you could make a custom field that says enter your Solana address here. That works. So I don't know. That's kind of the way I've approached it at this point.
Cool. Yeah. And, I think that's a good way to look at it, because Solana has been growing a little more recently, and I know people are going to start requesting that from you guys as well, because I think the big thing on Solana is getting in on these lists. There is the one earlier today, the Trip and Ape tribe, which I think was all allow list, and it had 200,000 followers, 200,000 in Discord, like a massive hype project, and people want ways to securely get in, because Solana has, I mean, I want to say it's less secure than Ethereum these days. I feel like we just hear way more scams happening on Solana. So cool. Well, glad that you were able to hop on today. Is there anything else that you wanted to plug?
No, we're continuing to plug away at just releasing a bunch of useful stuff on Premint. You can go to premint.xyz and play around. The best way to get in touch with me is just on Twitter at Mulligan. I'm pretty open and out there. We do a town hall that's open to the public every couple of weeks. Got one coming up tomorrow. But then we'll be doing, follow me on Twitter for links, and you can join us in Twitter Spaces or Zoom or whatever for that. So we're pretty open. So if you're interested in the project, like, there's plenty of ways to find out about it. And if you can't figure it out, just feel free to ping me.
Cool. Well, I think this was a good show. We had some people in the comments who clearly love Premint as a project. I like using the platform itself. As I mentioned, holding one feels like you're not holding any, because you don't want to list it or anything like that. So definitely a project that you haven't heard of, then check it out, because this is how people are getting onboarded into a lot of new projects. They aren't able to get onto all these different Discords. They don't want to be in 50 different Discords. So it's a way to organize your NFT life is how I've been using it. So definitely check it out, and we'll see you guys next time.